Yesterday we looked at what it means when you have to borrow starting with a whole number and taking away a fraction. We're going to layer on there a little bit today. So first of all, we're going to start with just a whole number and take away a fraction, except today the fraction will be 1/4. So if we start with 1 and we want to take away, I'm going to need my yellow today, aren't I? Because my fourths are in yellow. If we start with 1 and we want to take away just 1/4, well, we know that should leave us with 3/4. What does that look like when we borrow? We have to take our 1 and split it into just fourths. How many of those do we have? Well, there were 0/4 to begin with. We're going to bring over 4/4. Since there were 0/4 to start with, it's quite obvious we have 4/4. We're going to take away one of those fourths and end up with 3/4. What happens if we start with 1 and we take away 2/4? Well, this one gets a little more complicated. Again, we'll take our 1, borrow from it. It becomes 0 because we're going to call this 4/4 instead. These 4/4, when we take away 2 of them, we still have 2 left. But then you still have to look, is this in simplest form? There is a common factor. You can divide both of them by 2 and end up with 1/2 in simplest form. Was that true? Sure. 2/4 is the same amount as 1/2. We are just simplifying it and writing the answer with the smallest number of pieces. Okay, you may see a pattern here. We are going to start off with 1 whole, and we will subtract 3/4. We should end up with just 1/4 left, but what does that look like when we borrow? Well, our 1 becomes 0. We started out with no fourths, so we'll just call this 4/4. When we take 3 away from the 4, we still have 1. The pieces remain fourths. It's in simplest form. We can go on. So this is just a bit of a review. When you have just a whole number, it's actually nicer to borrow from and get fractions. But now we are going to use the idea instead that we are going to start out with a whole number and a fraction. So we're going to start out with 1 and 1/4. That 1 and 1/4 that we start out with, 1 and 1/4. From that, we'll just take away 1/4. Okay, easy enough. We took it away. We didn't have to do any borrowing. We have 0/4 left. We have 1 whole thing. It's all good. In fact, simplest form would just call this 1. What if, though, we start with our 1 and our 1/4, and we want to take away 2/4? Well, here's a problem now, because we can't take away 2/4. We only have 1/4 and a whole thing. Here we need to borrow. How are we going to do that? Well, we substitute. Instead of 1 whole thing, we're going to have 0. And instead, we will call this 4/4. Now these 4/4 are joining the 1/4 that was already there. How many fourths do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths plus the 1/4 that was there. This means we now have 5 fourths, 0, so I don't have to write anything there. From those 5 fourths, we're still taking away 2 fourths. Once we take 2 fourths away, we are left with 1, 2, 3 fourths. 5 minus 2 is 3. Fourths is the size of pieces. Once it's the same, we keep it the same. This is our final answer. We have to do a little bit of work. When we borrow, there's already a fraction. We have to bring over fractional pieces to join what was already there. So you end up rewriting your problem. This was the original problem. This is the problem we were finally able to solve. Okay, back to our 1 1/4 to start with. 1 and 1/4. This time we're going to take away 3 fourths. Again, we can't do this. So we will still have to borrow. Since we're borrowing from the same amount, it should look the same. 1 becomes 0. We bring over 5 fourths, or 4 fourths to join it. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fourths. Takes care of all of this. We can ignore it. We're still taking away 3 fourths. So we can ignore that part of the problem. 5 minus 3 is 2. Right, because we're taking away 3 fourths. They're gone. We have 2 fourths left. But just like up here, we still have to simplify. There's a common factor. I can divide top and bottom by the same number and end up with 1/2 as the final answer. Okay, what if I have 1 and 1/4? That means I need to bring back my 1, and I need to bring back my 1/4. And this time, I am going to take away 4 fourths. Think about this. Isn't 4 fourths the whole thing? So shouldn't I end up with 1/4 at the end? Yes, but I'm still going to show you how to borrow. The 1 becomes nothing. I am substituting it in fourths. How many fourths in a whole? There are 4 fourths to equal the whole that I am borrowing from. So now I bring over 4 fourths to join the 1/4 that was there. I once more have 5 fourths, but I am taking away 4 of those fourths, and mathematically it proves exactly what I said. The 4 fourths being gone, I end up with 1/4. Be sure that you have this copied over into your folder. These patterns should begin to make sense. Your assignment today has a couple of parts to it, though, so be sure that you watch those assignment videos as well.